Hey, you. It's a blind life. And welcome to the It's a Blind Life podcast. My name is Aria.
And I'm Belle.
And we are two legally blind sisters who, well, as I said, we're legally blind. So we just wanted to talk about our lives, how we do the things that we do, maybe try to give some advice to, people who are visually impaired or who have friends who are visually impaired, things to maybe help out your friends, that kind of thing. That's pretty much what this show is going to be. I will say that this show is a little bit different than Blind Girls Book Talk in the fact that this show will only be updated bi-weekly. So every other week there will be a new episode and they will come out on Mondays. So the day after the Book Talk podcast comes out.
That is our other podcast.
Which is our other podcast. Yeah, if you're just finding us, hi, hello. We do have another podcast called Blind Girls Book Talk. We talk about all things books over there. So if you like reading or just like random silliness sometimes, definitely a good place to go for that. But like I said, this show, though, this will get a little bit more real. This will be a little bit more serious at times than the book talk is, just because we are going to be covering some things that, I don't want to say people would be upset by, but we're talking about our lives, and some people might be upset about our lives for some odd reason. So if you're bothered, I'm so sorry. We're just talking about us and our opinions and what we think. That kind of thing and how we do stuff. So if that bothers you, I'm sorry this show isn't for you. That's okay. That's okay. We can all be respectful. So this episode is just kind of an introduction to us, to, like I said, we've already kind of covered the format of this show, how it's all going to work. These episodes will be longer form episodes, so just something to keep in mind. And yeah, so without further ado, I will go ahead and just kind of, start explaining my story. And then Belle will jump in a little bit later when, well, of course, I am the older sister. Belle is the younger one. So she'll jump in when she jumps in.
I'm just here.
So, like I said, my name is Aria. I was born with a condition that is called achromatopsia. It is something that is very rare. Only about 1 in 30-something thousand, 40,000, something like that.
I will double check the statistic because I think it changed.
I think it changed. But yeah, normally 1 in a lot of people are born with this condition, so it is pretty rare.
And you have to be born with it.
Yes, you do have to be born with it. It's not transferable. It's your gens.
It's your genes.
It's your genes.
It's in your DNA, everybody.
It's in your DNA. That's all it is. It's okay. And so pretty much when I was born, my parents, thought I was just a normal child.
Oh, it went down.
Oh, it went down. What is it?
It is 1 in 30,000.
1 in 30,000.
It used to be 1 in...
I thought it was like 35.
It used to be, whenever I last checked the statistic, years ago, everybody, years and years ago, probably about 10 years ago, actually, it was 1 in 140,000.
Yeah, so it has gone down.
So it has gone down drastically.
Yeah, so 1 in 30,000 people are born with this condition. So essentially, there was no history of this condition in my family, or at least none that, we're aware of, none that my parents
that we can trace back.
None that we can trace. And so when I was born, my parents thought that I was just a normal kid with just some kind of bad eyesight. I have worn glasses since I was about a year old. Pretty much, I had a relatively normal babyhood, was doing babyhood. I was doing the things, learning the things, growing as small as small humans
grow.
should. Yes. And so I feel like it was, I don't know, when I was about 4-ish years old, my mom had taken me to the eye doctor, and they all noticed that I had nystagmus, which is when you have movement of your eye, like it's involuntary movement of your eye. And so pretty much like when I was little, I could be sitting and like looking at something and my eyes would move side to side. When I was little, I would say that it felt like my eyes were doing the hula. And so my mom had brought this up to the eye doctor that we were seeing at the time. And she said, you know, she has this going on, which seems really weird. Like, it doesn't seem like her glasses are doing very much.
Well, no, it started with Mom couldn't teach you your colors.
You didn't let me finish.
You know what? I'll just leave.
She had also said to the doctor she's known her letters and numbers since she was about 2. I cannot teach her her colors. You know, I feel like something is wrong. And this eye doctor wrote a really nasty letter to my mom that pretty much said that I was being lazy. Color blindness is not prevalent in girls, so she's not colorblind. And essentially, I was just being a bad child. And so my mom knew that that wasn't the case. And so they went to get a second opinion. So they took me to a big medical facility that has kind of their own eye doctor wing in the big hospital. And they took me to the pediatric eye doctor. And so this eye doctor did an exam and she said, I'm pretty sure that I know what's wrong, but I have to run just a couple more tests. So one of those tests was where you are given a bunch of colored spheres. And they're very close in color. Like, they're very hard to differentiate, you know, the shades of color. And your goal is to put them in order. You know, just put them from lightest to darkest. That is your goal. And so I essentially started to try to do it. I was about 4 or 5 at the time, and I got very frustrated. And so I knew there was another way to do it, and I flipped over the colored spheres to the back, and they were numbered. So I start going through trying to, you know, flip them all over. The eye doctor is yelling because she is like, you can't do that. And she said that I've never, in my 25 years of practice at the time, which I was little, I've never had a patient do that before. But she comes back and she says to my parents that I have achromatopsia. So what is that? Well, essentially what it is I was born without the cone cells in your eyes. You have 2 types of cells in your eyes, cones and rods. Rods take care of your nighttime vision.
Well, hold on. Preface this. You have a lot of things in your eyeball.
Yeah, you have a lot of things in your eyeball.
Leave the rods out of it for now. Just focus on the cones because that doesn't affect you.
Okay, anyway. So the cone cells take care of your daytime vision, so like your vision in the sun. It takes care of your ability to see fine detail. It takes care of your color vision as well.
Mainly, they take care of a lot of things.
Yeah, it takes care of a lot to make your vision, you know, as fine-tuned as it is. Now, because I lack the cone cells, it means that I lack the perception of fine detail. So, you know, I can't see exactly what things look like. I am colorblind, obviously, but I'm not the normal red, green, red, blue, green, whatever those weird ones are.
The stupid color blindness.
Yeah, the other color blindness that is not ours. Mine is kind of a bit more complete. And then I'm also photophobic. So that means I am very sensitive to light. So my parents were just kind of like, this is insane. We didn't think that this was going to be a thing. I was getting ready to start kindergarten, actually. This was over the summer before I started kindergarten.
2 weeks before.
Yeah, and my parents had me set up to go to a private school. And back in the days that I was in school, private schools did not allow you to have an IEP. They didn't put out IEPs. So if you had a child with special needs...
They also wouldn't allow outside help.
Right. So if you had a child with special needs, you couldn't get help at a private school. And my parents were like...
We'll go more in depth on what that help is.
Right.
Because it's not what you think.
Right. And so... we essentially, my parents had to pull me from the private school and put me into public school. So I was put into a public school and I started my school years. And all in all, my school years were pretty well. Honestly, like my accommodations weren't very major ones. You know, it was mainly just like enlarged print, enlarged textbooks, that kind of thing. I always had these gigantic worksheets. Like if the teachers would give a kid, you know, a worksheet, mine were about twice the size of a normal worksheet.
Oh, let's see. Wait, hold on. Let's see if I can remember the paper size. 11 by 17?
I think so.
I think it was 11 by 17.
Yeah. So my papers were about twice the size. I always had to fold them.
We pretty much had double the paperwork that every other person had.
Yeah, like our folders by the end of the year were destroyed. Like it was just not the best time for that kind of thing, but we got through middle school, got through high school, went to college. When I was little, I had wanted to be a veterinarian. When I was a junior in college, I was using adaptive technology to see the animal that we were dissecting for anatomy. And essentially, that professor was very, very bad with all of the kids with disabilities. Like, not just me, like all of the students with disabilities. She had gone to like the head of the disability department at my college to complain about me, essentially, to say that I was just this horrible student. Now, me and the head of disabilities, we were very close. Like, we didn't see each other all the time, but we just, every time that we like met, we clicked really, really well. So she knew me, and she knew like no other teachers to that point, no other professors had a problem with me. So she was like, yeah, no, you're full of it. She's not a bad student. And so about halfway through that semester, my adaptive equipment went down and I couldn't see to do the dissection. So this professor's thought was to just, oh, you can just look at the pictures from the book. You can take your test from the pictures in the book. Now, most people would be like, well, that's easy. No, it really isn't. When you're looking at the animal, you can kind of follow things through and be able to figure it out a little bit easier than just looking at a snapshot. So I was taking this test and I was getting really, really frustrated. And I had never been so frustrated in a test as I was for this. And the head of disabilities happened to be in the room when I was taking my test and could see just how frustrated I was getting. And so she came in and she gave some help in the sense that she's like, okay, you said this goes to here. Like you said, this is this. We are looking at the thing that is off of this. What is that? And so, had to, take the test that way. It didn't go so well. So then afterwards, we had sat down and we had found out a way for me to be able to study in the pictures in the book, and it required puffy paint. And essentially what we would do, the head of disabilities would paint the picture, because it was the nervous system that was our last test, and she would paint the pictures with the puffy paint. And she kind of said, okay, she kind of sat down with me and explained, okay, this is when you feel this is what this nerve is. This first offshoot, that's this nerve. The last offshoot, that is that nerve. And she kind of taught it to me. And then I studied on my own, with my drawings, like remembering, okay, I'm here, I need to go here, here's this. And that test, I took it and it was the best test that I had ever taken for that class. But at the end of that class, I realized that I was extremely frustrated with everything. And this was only one animal. How am I going to go to vet school and do more? And so from there, didn't really go there. So long story short, now I'm where I am. And essentially, when I was little, I had to go to vision training to fix the nystagmus. I also have astigmatism, which a lot of people have that. It's when your eye isn't curved the way it should be curved. So things look a little funky. And I have poor eyesight over top of all of my other things. So my eyes in some way are a lot worse than Belle's, but in other ways they're a little bit better than Belle's. And Belle will go ahead and explain her side of the story.
Oh, now it's my turn.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay, so after our parents had Aria, and they found out that she was blind, they kind of were just like, if we have another child, we have another child. It wasn't priority, but it also wasn't like, we're not going to have another child.
Yeah, I think they had wanted to have more kids.
They did. I think Mom wanted like 3 or 5 or something. She wanted like an insane number.
Yeah, she wanted a lot of children. After they found out about my vision, I think that kind of put a little bit of a damper on like how big of a family she wanted. And essentially they had read, because they had done a lot of research after they had the name. And in all the research that they did...
They did a lot of research, and they also talked to... I forget what exactly he was, but he knew of our condition. Like, they reached out to kind of like a specialist that my dad found and became friends with him. And he's who actually recommended the doctor who diagnosed Aria, because he's like, I think she has this, but take her to this person and they'll tell you for sure. And then like once I found out, like our dad was asking him questions and stuff. And through asking, well, I don't know exactly if that doctor gave the correct answer, but through their research, they found that pretty much any child that they have will have the disability.
Yes.
However, doctors were saying not necessarily. They kept saying that there's a chance that if you have more children, they'll carry the gene, but they won't show the gene. But everything that our parents were reading was saying the opposite.
Right. So from there, they were just kind of like, well, we're going to just leave it to a greater power. If we're meant to have more children, we'll have them. And if we're not, that's okay.
Yeah. And then 8 years later, I showed up and graced the world with my presence.
Yes, you did.
It was lovely. Not really. So when I was 6 months old is when I was tested. Now, this was long ago. So the test now has changed, especially for infants. But the time of which whenever I took the test, they would kind of sedate the child. And then they would put these sensor contacts in their eyes and they would scan like the inside workings of the eye. And that's what the test was. And our mom still tells me this all the time, and because this was the one thing I think out of all the testing that we've been through conjoined, this was the one test that broke our mother's heart the most, because again, I was 6 months old and the nurse set me up. I was asleep, put the contacts in and said, okay, don't look at your child, like don't do it, because my mom was holding me in a rocking chair. And of course, when somebody tells you not to look, you want to look. And when our mom looked at me, she just burst into tears because I looked like a baby doll. Because again, for preface, I was also extremely small for my age and size. Like I was too small.
You were a tiny baby.
I was a tiny baby. I'm a tiny human now. It's fine.
You are tiny.
I'm tiny. I am small.
You're travel sized for our convenience.
Honestly. And then, like, when my mom came out of that test with me, she, like, yelled at my dad. She's like, I am not doing a test like that again. Next time you're doing it, like, no. But it did come back that I also have a chromatopsia with nystagmus. But my condition is different than Aria's. Like Aria, I lack the cone cells in my eye. However, I also don't have rod cells. How Aria mentioned before, she doesn't have cones. I lack cones and rods. The rod cells in your eye take care of pretty much your night vision as well as your peripheral vision. So, like, my peripheral vision is horrible. I can't really see in the dark. Pretty much, I'm screwed all over. However, one of the big things, minus the lacking the rods, another big difference between our vision on how it's better is Aria has worse low vision than I do. So overall, my overall low vision is better and Aria's is worse. But either way, we're kind of in the same boat.
But how I said that, depending on how you look at it, mine is better.
Yeah. We're pretty much in the same boat.
We're in the same boat, but the thing is that how, like Belle said, you know, I have the worst low vision, which is true. But the thing is that if it's dark outside, I tend to see a little bit better than Belle does. Like,
Yes.
I see a little bit better in dim light.
I still see better in dim light. However, it needs to just be a little bit brighter than what Aria can see. And in optimal conditions, we can both see very well. And when I mean optimal conditions, it is conditions that eye doctors can make in a room.
Yeah,
Like,
that it never will happen in real life.
Like, it can't be happen in real life.
It's lab grown. It's not.
It's lab grown. Like, it can't happen in anywhere else. Like, we can't replicate it in our home. Like,
Yeah.
it is in an eye doctor's office.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Another thing recently with my vision, Aria mentioned her nystagmatism, and how her eye goes side to side. My eyes go double time what hers do, but mine jump all over. And when they jump all over, it looks like they're going in a circle.
Yes.
Because they go double time of what normal people's eyes do. So, yeah. And over the years, we found out this year that my nystagmus has severely worsened. Don't know how. But it's gotten worse to the point where we have special contacts that block out excess light from coming in our eyes. They're lovely for us, not for everybody else in the world, but they're lovely for us.
Yeah, so I didn't get those contacts until I was 16.
You didn't get contacts till you were 16. I was 15, but we didn't get our current contacts that work 10 times better than
The old
old ones until I was 16.
Yeah, until we had gone. Yeah, because there's a very long and storied past with the contacts and everything.
It ain't worth it. We ain't getting into it.
Yeah.
Point being, current contacts, they're lovely for us. Not so much lovely for other people.
Well, lovely for you. Mine are. Well,
you have other issues.
Yeah, currently my eyeballs hate me.
Yeah, you have other issues. I'm not going into that. But point being, my contacts work to correct my vision, not fully correct, to semi-correct my vision, but my nystagmus is 10 times worse, and the contacts don't have the optimal lenses to correct the nystagmus because the contact itself is too thin, so oxygen can get into my eye, so I don't pop blood vessels. So I need to wear glasses now on top of my contacts that correct the nystagmus and make things sharper. Another thing that's different with my vision from Aria's is I have had extreme trouble getting my eyes to focus and like things to come clear. Again, that's probably with the nystagmus and the worse off with the nystagmus.
You mean astigmatism?
Whatever.
Every time she said nystagmus, she means astigmatism.
Yeah, I mean that.
She gets them confused. To be fair,
confused.
To be fair, I get them confused sometimes, and I have to sit there and think really hard which word is which.
Yeah, I'm not thinking real hard. I don't care enough.
Gee, thanks.
Yeah. But anyway, so like my head would bobble a lot. Like I would legit look like a bobblehead. I went through the same schooling that Aria did. I went to like the same public school and everything. But by the time I started, they were starting to allow outside help come into the private schools. However, let me preface what we mean now by outside help. We both had the same visions teacher.
Yeah. So, okay, let's back up a smidge.
Yeah.
When you have a disability, you work with the school to create what is called an IEP. And essentially what this is, it is a document that pretty much says, okay, this is what this child has. This is the problem. This is what this child needs in order to learn and in order to be on the same playing field as all of the other children. And so in our case, it was we were allowed extra time for assignments.
Extra time on assignments, sit in the front
time
of the class.
for testing, sitting in the front of the class, use of different aids like monoculars, binoculars, magnifiers.
In my case, I had some at some points in my life. I had a like electronic device that would show like transmit what was on a board onto a laptop so I could see things.
The use of laptops or being able to type things, printed like a copy of printed notes. Essentially, we were allowed to request that. Enlarged papers, which I talked about before.
I think that's pretty much it.
I think that's pretty much it.
We were very low maintenance compared to a lot of other.
Yeah, compared to a lot of others, like, and even a lot of those things that we had the permission for, we didn't necessarily use it. Like, we never really asked for extra time a lot. We never...
we used extra time on tests, not assignments.
Yes. And by extra time on tests, I mean, that was mainly in college, that was kind of a bigger deal than it was in high school or middle school or elementary school.
Yeah, because pretty much anybody who didn't finish got extra time in those years.
Yes.
But it mainly came into play in college. We got
time and a half. It was mainly... like the use of the equipment, like the monocular, the binocular, the magnifier, that was a big thing. Typing was a big thing. Typing notes and that kind of thing, and having a copy of notes, that was typically a big thing too. I think that was a little bit easier in Belle's time because at that point they would allow her to take a picture of the board. That really wasn't something they had in my time, but we figured it out.
Whenever I say take pictures of the board, I mainly did that in college. I would get away with it in high school, though. I would take out my phone, and if somebody gave me flack, I was also just a teacher's pet, so nobody cared.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I did. It went fine.
Yeah. So regardless, though, so when we say, getting help, that is what we're talking about.
That, and we also had it to where we would have a visions teacher come.
Yes, and we would have a visions teacher who would come in and would teach us about
life skills,
different things,
education skills.
I had a couple different people that I had talked to for different things. At one point, my vision teacher, we would go over just kind of like basic like reading skills and like that kind of thing, like reading comprehension. It was just kind of extra help.
Yeah, I did that too. I'd have like tests every twice a year or so where it was reading comprehension, both audible and visual. There were some other ones that... And
then we would also do mobility, orientation and mobility.
Yes.
So that's kind of teaches you how to get around, how to use a cane properly. Typing. Yeah, there was typing. Our parents did not push for me to learn Braille because when they were doing all of their research, it had pretty much said that people with my disability, they read the dots instead of feeling them. So they didn't see a point in me learning Braille. They did push for it for Belle a little bit more.
Only because I saw Braille and I wanted to learn Braille and I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
Nobody fought me.
Yeah.
Also, when the time I wanted to learn Braille, I was also too advanced because I had the last visions teacher that Aria had from kindergarten onward. So by the time I was finishing up elementary school, I was finished with my typing lessons. I was finished with pretty much everything a normal vision student finishes their senior year of high school. I was done with in elementary school. So it was very much of, well, now what do we do?
Yeah.
Because I still needed that time. Like, I still was getting that time. So, and like, that wasn't changing. So it was literally, what do we do with you?
Yeah. And so, like, I will say, too, there was another lady who came in. I feel like I was going into middle school, but she came in and she taught us, I don't know who she was through, but she taught us more life skills.
Oh, yeah, she came to the house. She taught me how to, like, she taught us how to pour, like, beverages into glasses.
How to pour beverages, how to fold clothes, how to make some small meals like grilled cheese.
I learned eggs in the microwave, and it was around Father's Day. So Arya, I think, made a cake for our dad, and I made him a giant cookie.
Yeah, so we learned like some baking skills. She taught me how to start putting on makeup. You know,
I was...
Yeah,
Small
you were too
child.
little. You were too little, but I think I ended up kind of showing you a little bit.
I don't know.
When
I
it
feel
came
like
that
I
age.
kind of flubbed my way through that.
I can't remember
don't know.
exactly. So she came and did that, and then the other thing that we both had as well was there was a program that was called Homes, and I forget what it actually stood for. But essentially, what the goal of the Homes program was it took all of the children who had visual impairments
Within our area,
within our county, and it brought them to a central location. And pretty much we would
learn more life skills.
You learned a lot of life skills. There was still some reading comprehension, like there was still that kind of learning.
There wasn't whenever I was there. When I was there, it was a lot more life skills things. I learned some basic self-defense.
Yeah, they taught you that kind of stuff.
Yeah, cooking. All the blind kids would get together and we'd cook our lunch.
Yeah, we would cook. I know there was one year or a couple years for us where we had like kind of gardening things, which I hated.
I didn't have that. We played like kickball.
Yeah, playing some
blind
games.
Kickball, let me say that.
Yeah, we would play some games. It was just kind of a way for us to kind of get together, realize that
you're not alone.
You're not alone. And it was kind of like a weird support group.
I was the baby.
You were the baby of the group. I feel like I was kind of like the unofficial leader of that group.
You were. And then, so because me and Arya are 8 years apart in age. So by the time Arya graduated high school, she left. I entered that program.
Yeah.
So everybody joked that we were just rabbits.
Yes.
And we just multiplied because they lost one yet gained another. So they were laughing. But like I was the youngest, but I somehow became the leader. And like they'd pick on me, but like it was mainly two people, but they did it like big brothers.
Yeah.
Which was fun. I am certified in CPR because of that program.
Yeah. For me, when I was still in high school and stuff, I was the one who, because this program met once a month, and every month for one of my orientation and mobility sessions, we would go shopping.
I did that too.
That was a big like skill for me. Like I think that's why I kind of became the leader, because I was the one who got to go and get the food.
Yeah, me and the other guy, another one of our friends, he's now a visions teacher. Very proud of him. He worked with me a lot in elementary school. He was around Ari's age. He was lovely. We had fun. I think I can speak for both of us, as me and Aria both liked him. Mm-hmm. He was a very good guy all around. He was fun to be around. We had so much fun in the summers when he would, shadow my visions teacher. We'd have so much fun together.
Yeah.
And so me and him would go together and we'd do the shopping. And then a couple years later, he graduated. So then it was just me going to do it.
Yes. So it was a times were had. I know there were a couple like field trip days that we would do, like even more of a field trip. Like I remember one year we made buttons.
Yeah, I remember that because we had to pick you up.
Yeah, like it was a big thing. Like we were making and selling buttons. I don't know why, but that was a thing that we did. I had a good time with that though.
Oh yeah, we had like a book sale for me one year.
Yeah, so like
anyway, you learn basic life skills.
Yeah, you learn basic life skills. It's that kind of
Like,
program.
I was taught how to cut vegetables.
I think sort of like laundry was one of ours one year. Like
Yeah,
how to
for you
sort
guys, yeah.
socks, you know, that kind of thing. There was another camp that I had went to when I was a senior going into my freshman year of college. And essentially that program was definitely more about life skills, about technology, kind of making sure that you could get around on your own and you could like be on your own, living independently. They showed different like little gadgets and stuff, which we'll talk about some of that later on down the line. I know we're going to have a couple episodes where we talk about assistive technology.
Yeah. But anyway, back to my story. And then I went to college.
Yes.
So Aria knew all the time she wanted to be a vet. I did not know what I wanted to do. Let me preface that. My dream at one point was to be an astronaut, and that was like my big dream. Like, I want to be an astronaut. I went and told my parents. They laughed at my face and said, find another dream. So, way to break a child's heart. So,
To be fair, can you imagine you being an astronaut now?
no, I can't. But that was my dream, man. I love space. Like, I wanted to do that. Yeah, no. Anyway.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't have taken you anyway.
Probably wouldn't have. Anyway, so Ari went pretty close to home. She was a couple hours away.
I was a couple hours away.
I completely left. I said peace out, and I went 13 hours away. And I originally started as undecided, and then I ended up going for finance. And then I ended up also adding on a certificate because it was one extra class, and I said, screw it. What's one extra class?
Yeah.
So I added on a certificate. But unlike Aria, I had no problems in college. I sailed through college. I had the best time in college. And
Academically.
then, yes, I had, yeah, let's put it that way. Academically, I soared. I was doing great. And then I decided my nope. Hold on. Give me a minute. My years are kind of messed up because I did graduate early because I took summer classes because I'm a nerd. So what would have technically been my last semester of junior year, I had to take business law, and I fell in love with it. And everybody at this point was pressuring me, well, what are you going to do with your life? And I was just like, I don't know. Because at that point, finance, like, once I knew all of the overall equations, it was plug and chug. Like, there was no deep thinking with it for me. Like, it was cut and dry. And I was like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. So I decided I was going to go for a graduate degree. I wasn't sure. And then it ended up being decided that I should go into law. So I took the LSAT, which I have a whole complaint about that I'm not getting into.
Another day.
But anyway, so in doing, I took the LSAT and I got into law school, which is where I'm currently at. Struggling, but it's fine. My brain hurts. I now see why people hated school growing up.
You're fine.
But so, yeah, I still pretty much keep the same accommodations that I've always had. I am allowed to use my iPad in class, especially in the classes that my professors are like, no electronics. I'm allowed to take a picture of the board or PowerPoint she has up, which is really sweet. Even today, I had to take pictures of some practice questions. She didn't have them on our Teams page, so I couldn't pull them up. So I was just taking my picture, and she's like, you can see this, right? Like, you're okay. And I'm like, yeah, I took a picture. We're fine. Like, don't worry about it. And she's like, are you sure? And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, don't worry about it. We're good.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay. And so, like, it's fine. I have some really nice professors who are willing to work with me. And then I also will get time and a half on my test. Of course, I will be in a separate testing location, but I will get that come midterms. I'm trying to think, what else did you say that I need to add?
I don't know. I feel like we've covered it. And if it's something that we've forgotten, there's going to be another time that we talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, we will definitely preface things. Again, if you've come from the book talk, you know that our style is definitely, we just kind of throw spaghetti at the wall and we see what sticks.
Honestly. I will say, especially for me, I've noticed being a person of disability in college and graduate school, it's weird.
Yeah.
Because you don't get many of those.
No, I mean,
I was only in my school, in my undergrad, I was the second person the head of disabilities has ever had with a vision issue.
yeah.
I was the second person she's ever had. Mental disabilities, you get a lot more of those, such as like dyslexia or things like that.
Yeah, you get a lot of people with the dyslexias, like the ADHD.
Yeah. You don't really see many physical.
It's rarer to
Yes.
see physical,
Yes.
but I know I had a lot more fellow disability students in
Than I did.
undergrad
Yeah.
than I did, well, like ever.
Yeah. And now I'm quite happy with my law school. One of the reasons I really chose it was because during the talk, I talked to like the head of admissions, one of the like deans of admissions. And one of the questions was asking about their disability system, because I know a lot of places don't necessarily follow Americans with Disabilities Act.
That'll be a different discussion.
That'll be a different discussion. Anyway, I asked about, the disabilities program and everything, and he did tell me that there were 2 other students with a visual disability. So, like, that is another reason why I chose my school, because to just know that I have 2 other people at that school, I don't personally know them, but to know that they have a visual disability, it is a comfort.
Yeah, to know they exist.
To know they exist, because in society, it's very much you have a disability, you can't do anything.
It feels that way.
It feels that way.
Like that's the prevalent consensus.
Yeah. It's really nice to have that knowledge and, to kind of, I don't want to say have that support system because I don't know those people, but to just have that knowledge. And I also have wonderful professors. Like, they are lovely. I'm best friends with one of my professors. She's great. Love her. It's weird, though. Going for further education with disabilities, it's weird.
It is. And I mean, even having a job with a disability is really
It's weird.
Because, well, I know my job story is probably going to be a story for a different day.
Yes.
Because it's not pleasant. A long story short, I pretty much quit multiple jobs because essentially everybody thought that I couldn't do anything because I couldn't see.
Yes. And the job I've had, it was an internship that I needed to graduate, but everybody was really nice to me there. But granted, it was within the same company that our dad works for. So, like, everybody kind of has to be nice to me.
Not has to, but like
it makes their lives easier.
Well, it's more they knew him, and so they were just like, oh, we'll just be nice to you because he's a nice human.
Yeah. And it was fine. It was great. There were some things that were a bit more difficult, but I was given pretty much a separate project from my other interns. And all I personally had to do was to research mortgages and see if they were fulfilled. That's literally all I did.
Yeah.
And then once I got my hours, I left.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's going to be, though, a different topic for a different day because there's trauma there.
Yeah, that will probably be in with the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Yeah, that'll be a whole different...
That'll be a whole different episode.
A whole different ball game. It's not even on the schedule yet.
No.
But anyway, so that is a little bit about us. Hopefully this makes sense. If you have questions, they'll be in the description box. I will leave a email address. I'm not sure which one I'm going to put there, but I will leave an email address. Like, if you ever have questions, we're more than happy to answer them. We have always been big proponents of being kind of ambassadors in a way for, people who cannot see. We have done a lot with advocating for ourselves.
Yes.
And knowing kind of what we need and what a lot of other blind people do need as well. Because like through the Homes program, you meet people with different disabilities, like with different types of blindness. And you learn a lot of what they need, how they need to function, and you learn to help them as well. Yeah,
and there is other things that kind of are changing in the world that aren't, we'll talk about it in another episode. I know it's on the list as of right now, where, you know, things make our lives difficult. So like I'm currently working with our home state's like local senator and congressman to bring this issue to light, to, you know, say, hey, look, this is an issue for people of all visual impairments. Like, you need to make something that, so this doesn't continue to happen.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're very good at trying to find those issues and speaking up. And we know that, you know, our thing is different than everybody else's.
Yeah, we know that we're definitely different than a lot of other people, but at the same time, we kind of are just like, you know what, we're just going to stand up and talk about this because this affects not just us, but a lot of other people as well. And it's time to not just keep ignoring that it's happening. Like, it's time.
Keep ignoring the longest persecuted group of people.
Things might get a little controversial here. It is okay. This is our opinions. You can have your own. That is okay.
Oh, yeah, that's not an opinion. It's a historically stated fact. Look it up.
This is okay. Anyway, we're going to move right along. So anyway, we have decided to kind of make this in order to just talk about that, you know, talk about that more, and to be a place where you can have a conversation in a way that it doesn't seem like somebody is always going to be mad at you, because like, you don't know what you don't know, and it's okay to not know, and it is okay to ask questions so you can learn, and so you can then know.
That is one thing for both me and Aria. We love when people ask us questions, and like a lot of people are scared to ask questions, but like it honestly isn't anything against us, because as we were born with our disability, we don't know anything different. So to have someone ask us something of how do you do XYZ, it makes us have to think.
Yeah, how do we do this thing? Because for us, we just do it. We have our way to do it.
Yeah, and we don't think anything of it. Like, we find what works and we just do it. Right. And we don't think anything of it because we just do it. So like, I remember in college, somebody asked me, how do I read prescription bottles? And I sat there for a minute, and I looked at her, and I said, give me a minute, because I don't know how to answer that question. Because I just do it.
Right. Yeah. And like, that's the thing. There are things that we just do without thinking about it because we need to do that. These are things that we have to accomplish. We might have a different way of doing it. And there are some things that it's like, it's literally the same as you would. There is no difference. But like I said, I would much rather be able to have, you know, conversations with different people with different opinions and try to find more of the common ground, or just to educate people on what they don't know, versus just screaming about everything and everybody being mad all of the time, because that's not okay. Like, you shouldn't have to live life that way, but that's just my opinion. So anyway, well, this episode, I said in the book talk episode where we introduced this podcast that this will be a longer form episode. This episode's going to be a little bit shorter than what others will probably be, just because, you know, there's only so much introduction that you can get from this.
Yeah, honestly.
Because, I mean, we never go into these things with a plan.
Nope. No,
we wing it.
Legit, Aria looked at me and she was like, who's introducing this? And I was like, because I originally said I would. She's like, you have a plan? I said, nope. And she's like, here's what I was thinking, says the intro. Sure, You go ahead and do it.
So, yeah, if there's something that we forgot, like I said, we're going to be covering it elsewhere.
Honestly.
Like, don't worry. You're not going to be missing
We
much.
tend to repeat ourselves.
We tend to repeat ourselves. We like telling stories. I mean, if you couldn't tell by me talking about my life, I love telling stories. So I'll tell you my story.
Honestly.
But yeah, I will tell stories again. So don't worry if you think I missed something, it's gonna pop up elsewhere. Like, don't you worry. Or I'll tell the same story 5 million times and it's totally fine. So anyway, thank you guys for coming along on this introductory episode. Hope that you will like this show. I think we're going to do some very interesting things down the line, talk about some topics that people might not realize are issues. So
Yes.
yeah, it's going to be a good time. But of course, if you like this episode, if you like what you've been listening to, if you like us and our lovely commentary,
If you like my snarkiness, because believe me, in
There's
this
more.
podcast, there's going to be a whole lot more.
there will be more. Please follow the podcast and share the episode with your friends. We really would like to try to get this podcast up off the ground, so we would appreciate any help y'all could give with that. It would be nice. But hey, if not, it's cool too. No pressure. Now, next time, it's not going to be next Monday, but the Monday after. What are we going to be talking about?
I don't know.
Well, I have a list.
I don't see it in docs.
It is.
Are you positive?
Yes, I am. Are you positive? Yes, because I wrote it.
Listen, okay, I'm struggling.
Yes, you are. So what are we talking about next time?
I'm assuming you mean cane use.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not what this note says.
Oh, God. Right.
Game.
I don't know if it's the dyslexia, the autocorrect, or if I'm just that stupid.
Dude, you don't even have dyslexia. Anyway, cane use, a how-to and other mobility help, apparently.
Yes, that's what we're going to be talking about next time. So that being said, we'll see you guys then, and don't forget, it's a blind life. Bye.
Bye.